you would go here and you'd be able to add a user account, basically an online backup user account, and you'd be able to fill out the information for the customer, choose the backup plan size that you want, from the have monthly or annually. The pricing on the right hand side here, it's this pricing will show the pricing with your price. These are just random, but if you bought several terabytes from us, your price per gigabyte or your cost for 1 gig might be a lot lower. But that's kind of irrelevant. It's just a reference point. After you create an online backup account for a customer, you then also be able to go in here and add them a license to be able to back up a system as an image, and also use the Exchange grant and recovery software. You can see that here. This username was assigned a license file for Exchange and recovery and a license key to use with the image-based backup. Once we've done that, this software package here makes a little more sense. So I'm going to log in with my username as a customer, and you might possibly be doing this for them. And after I'm logged in, I'm going to get about 5 icons I'll be able to click on. We have the online backup and recovery, which is our standard folder and file backup that you would use on workstations or file servers to back up your folders and files, 5 files. And then we also have our bare metal image creator. This is powered by Shadow Protect. So this is going to be your local backup that's very powerful to use on your desktops or servers. And it does need a license for it. So if you were to install this, at the 30 days, you need to use this license key and activate it. That's how we control the licensing. The same thing for Exchange grant and recovery. The license file is right here. You'd be able to get this license file, and then you actually would paste it or just save it into the installation directory. The next thing we have here is the management agent. This talks to our web-hosted control panel, and we call that Pulse. So this is installed on any system that you want to monitor the online backups of, and also control online backups. And then the bare metal image stream. This is a product that we developed to upload the images to the cloud in a much more efficient, faster way. They actually look very similar to the image stream client and the SOS Online Backup standard folder file backup client look the same. However, they upload files differently depending on the size. So the online backup software, how it efficiently backs up thousands of files, is it'll copy 1,000 or 2,000 files at a time, compress and encrypt and zip that into one package, and then we upload that. Well, that method wouldn't work very good for big files, because if we were to copy a large image and paste it to your temporary folder on your machine, it would fill up real fast, and then we have to compress and encrypt that. It would take forever. So we implemented a new method of what we call a streaming backup. So these big files or the images, what it does is it's going to upload 10 megabytes at a time and compress and encrypt it while it's uploading. They can call that a streaming backup. Therefore, it doesn't take up free space in your system. So we will be going forward using this for the big files, and then automatically converting to the standard method for the smaller files. So it's smart enough to do that. That's why we have 2 different clients. Additionally, we're only going to have one of those software clients to use on all your systems, so you don't have to worry about installing both. Now, if you have a question about that, you're able to use the same username and password for both clients, and back up data and also recover data from any of the systems. The only difference is that how they transfer big files, but all your data is going to the same place. So I'm going to start with the image creator, and like I said, this is powered by Shadow Protect. Notice here on the right-hand side, if you're not familiar with this already, that there is this network view. What this network view is, it actually lets you add image creator or Shadow Protect to another server on the network. And by doing so, this console right here lets you manage that system as well by setting up a backup, managing it, or just by having the software installed and connecting to a second system. I then can do some recovery tasks. So, for example, just by having the software installed and even closed, I can go to the hard drive where my images are being saved to, and I can right-click and mount an image as a drive letter using Quick Mount right here, and that lets me pull out maybe just a document or Word a folder. And you see here we have this G drive, it also lets me do an exchange granular recovery. So I'll get back to that in a second. But first I want to just go through the backup software for you, show you how that works. So over here we have our tabs. We have our wizard disk map that shows your, kind of like disk management. I can right click on here, I can delete a volume, or it says active, that kind of thing, backup. We have the backup jobs tab. This is where you do a monitor those things. I'm going to erase this so I can go through setting a backup for you guys. A destinations tab, typically you're going to have a network destination where your image is going to be saved to. Usually what our partners do is they'll have an extra Windows machine lying around. Maybe it's not even extra. Maybe it's just a Windows desktop that the customer already has that someone's using, and they might install some extra RAM in there, maybe like 8 gigs of RAM, extra hard drive to store the images. And that would be the machine on the network to store the images instead of using a NAS. Well, I know NAS can be very effective, but in this regard to the images, if you have a Windows machine, we're able to transfer the images much faster to the cloud using ImageStream. Because if ImageStream has to go to the NAS and pull it to that machine first and then upload it, to be slower. And also typically NASs have issues with disconnecting via like a map drive, that kind of thing. Another benefit of having it on a Windows machine is that you're able to convert those images to virtual environment if you wanted to. So a desktop could have like VMware Workstation installed. It could have virtual PC installed or Hyper-V. You could quickly create a VM and use the boot disk that we give you to boot in that little OS environment, point to where your images are located, and then actually re-image that virtual machine. This is the fastest way of getting one of your sharp-picked images into a virtual environment using the boot disk. There are some converter tools that you could use to convert the sharp-picked image to virtual, like VMware Converter is free. You could use that. However, that method actually is slower than just using the boot disk, but you could do both. That's one of the benefits of having it on a Windows computer, where you could boot the image that maybe is one of your servers on the desktop, and it's like your server is back up and running. And if you have enough RAM and CPU available and hard drive space, that desktop machine that you're using could still be in use by the employee, and you'd have the virtual machine just minimized, possibly. You also could have it boot into an ESX server as well. So that's one of the benefits of just having the software installed to do that. Additionally, the software can be installed at no additional cost for management, for like network management or recovery purposes. However, when you try and run a backup, it will ask you for a license key if you haven't already put it in there. So that's when license keys get used, is when you're trying to run a backup. So I'm going to go through the backup wizard here, and you notice it shows my drives. Typically what you would do is you would select your C drive and your other data drives you want to back up. Additionally, if you have Exchange or SQL on its own partition or disk, and you want to do a separate backup, you do that too. You see here I just selected the E drive, which has Exchange on it, and I could just take an image of that. However, if you want the entire system, you can separate these out or do them all together. And then just one note I want to add is that the system reserve partition that Windows creates on install, you don't want to back that up as an image because VSS actually has a problem doing that. And so with Shadow Protect, you just ignore it, just like the C drive. And if you need to do a recovery with the boot disk, that partition will be, that system reserve partition will be recreated at that moment. Let's see here.